There are diverse races, cultures, traditions, and religions in this world, and bringing them together in a union of marriage can be very hard. Ezra Cohen and Amira Mohammed fall into a situation where they are white Jewish and black Muslim respectively. They fall deeply in love and even want to get married, but when their families enter the picture, will their love be enough to go through the peril of racism? Or will they have to give up on each other? In the opening scene of You People, we see Mo and Ezra recording their podcast in a home studio. They talk about Barack Obama, fun times in 2014, and finally, the ridiculousness of the BLM movement. In the next scene, Ezra, a Jew, is in a synagogue with his family, though he doesn't look like he wants to be there. His sister Lisa is annoyed that he gets to dress normally, and why she has to wear something religious. Things take a turn as the family causes a small commotion in the synagogue. When Ezra's mom discovers he's not got his yarmulke on during Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, she tries to behave cool, but it's so obvious that she's not cool about it. After the commotion, Lisa and Ezra tease themselves. They are obviously not as religious as their mother. After the session at the synagogue, the greetings begin. Ezra is trying to push through the crowd, but comes across a lot of old people asking strange things, and they even try to behave like the younger ones. The most awkward is when Doc asks him to come to the bathroom so he could take a look at his and Ezra runs from him. He later comes across his mother, who informs him that Kim Glassman is checking him out. His mother is so excited about it, as she's a smart kid who's lit. But even though Ezra is not interested in her, he has to play along with his mom. In the next scene, Ezra is on a date with Kim. She asks about his job as a broker, and he truthfully tells her he's not interested in it. Upon her request, he tells her about his podcast with Mo, but she just laughs, as he predicted. She wonders what he knows about the culture, when he is a Jew from West Los Angeles, but Ezra just laughs it off. At Mo's place, Ezra laments about not being able to find a woman who understands him, and Mo shakes his head at his friend, who wants to be in a relationship. Ezra admits that he wants to be in a relationship badly and feel a connection once again. Mo advises him to get it together and stop sulking over not having a girlfriend. Next, we see Amira is dropping her luggage in the boot of a car when her ex, Chris, comes over, trying to get back with her again. Tired, she behaves coldly towards him, and when he doesn't leave, she explains that she didn't like their relationship because he was always shallow and just said things he thought she wanted to hear. Not getting it again, Chris goes ahead to say another cheesy line, a classic from James Baldwin. But Amira catches on that he got help from her dad, especially after checking his phone to be sure, making his situation worse. He tries to explain, but she enters her car and zooms off, yelling at him not to come to her house again. At work, Ezra's boss comes to urge him to work, because he is just staring into space looking helpless. He tries to greet Ezra in a catchy way, but Ezra, being the boring person he is, doesn't catch the vibe. Seeing he's not heading anywhere with the hip greeting, he tells him to return back to work. On the other hand, Amira, who's trying to find her way to work, gets lost as her GPS is misbehaving, and coincidentally stops right in front of Ezra's office building. Ezra, who just got off work, enters Amira's car thinking she's in Uber. Amira panics, hitting him and yelling at him to get out of her car. He's annoyed at the woman's customer service, and Amira clarifies that she's not in Uber. Ezra sincerely apologizes for the mistake, but Amira doesn't fall for it, as she believes he's just a racist who thinks it's his right to get in a black person's car. He apologizes again, explaining that his Uber driver is a black woman who looks like her and is driving the same car model, and offers to direct her to where she's going, since she seems lost. Upon seeing he's telling the truth, Amira calms down and allows him to direct her. They get talking on the way, introducing themselves while at it. In the next scene, Amira enters a restaurant with her brother Omar, who's curious about Ezra. She tells him she's going on a date with him, and he's shocked that Ezra's white, since it's not her style, especially since her daddy might complain. But she proudly proclaims that she doesn't date according to her father's will. Amira's dad joins them at the table, talking about the way blacks are getting fairer these days. Omar makes a snarky comment, leading to talk about Amira's date. She lies that her date is a black African who's a Muslim, so as not to get him riled up. They continue their discussion, and it's obvious that Amira's father is someone who dislikes the whites. At the shopping mall, Mo is shocked that Ezra managed to bag a black girl, saying it's way out of his league. Mo believes that dating a black girl is dangerous, with the present social tension and racism going on. Ezra is not happy about Mo's direction of thought, as he just met a woman whom he finds interesting and decided to ask her out. Later on, Ezra and Amira's first date goes well as they get to know each other, and they keep going on dates, to museums, film dates, and so on, having a fun time together. They enjoy each other's company, and end up getting into a real relationship after sleeping together. 6 months later, Ezra decides to take Amira to meet his family, and he's more nervous than Amira, as they're a crazy set of people, but Amira believes every family is crazier. Ezra's parents, Shelley and Arnold, are welcoming, and maybe a little too much, as they try to refer to black things like musicians, so as not to seem racist, but it comes off as weird and hurtful to Amira. Lisa comes in, eyeing the beautiful Amira, and Shelley explains that Lisa is gay, going over the top by trying to prove that she's a cool mom, thereby embarrassing Ezra. As they keep talking, Shelley continues referring to black people, and goes overboard when she tries to talk about the unfair treatment of the police towards black people, making Amira uncomfortable. Lisa, who came down earlier, apologizes for her mom's behavior, and Arnold starts his own about musicians, eventually making everything worse. At another part of the house, Ezra begs his mother to cool down on everything she's trying to do, and Shelley doesn't get it, saying she's behaving normally. Ezra tries to show her that she's talking to Amira as though she's a black person, and not his girlfriend, but his mom still doesn't get it. She calms down, though, and Ezra does too when she says she thinks Amira is a wonderful person. She notices Ezra's entranced look, and he confesses that he wants to marry her. Shelley is so excited and happy for him, and is okay with him getting married to the person who makes him happy, although she would have preferred a Jewish girl. When they get back to the living room, they see Arnold singing John Legend's Ordinary People, and Ezra mouths a sorry to Amira, who takes no serious offense. Another day, at a bar, Mo congratulates Ezra for his decision to marry Amira, but feels it's absurd that he hasn't met her family yet, but wants to marry her with the baby ring. The ring is small, and Ezra lies that it's his grandmother's Holocaust ring. In the next scene, Ezra meets Amira's parents. Akbar and Fatima don't look welcoming, but Ezra doesn't take a hint. Akbar believes it's his wife's white grandfather coming to hunt him, and they get into a dispute, because Akbar believes his children have a touch of poison in them. Ezra tries to prove that mixed races are important, and that he loves their daughter, but he doesn't phrase his words well and starts spewing nonsense. He says he wants to marry their daughter, but Akbar tells him to try. Later, Amira is getting off the phone with her mom when Ezra comes in. She's annoyed that Ezra took her parents to lunch without her knowledge, but Ezra doesn't want to talk about it, which annoys her more. He explains that all his plans to propose to her were messed up, and as he's talking, Amira sees the ring box in her hand, calming her down greatly. She tells him that he can still go on with his plans, and Ezra gets on his knees, proposing to her. She accepts his proposal, and even loves the ring, though it's small. He still lies that it's from the Holocaust, and that his grandma got engaged when she was 3 or 4, making Amira laugh, and they browse wedding spots together. In the next scene, Ezra practices quitting his job with Amira, taking her as his boss and saying what he'll tell her. She encourages him when he gets nervous. So, on getting to work, Ezra gets to his boss's office, but messes up all his practice as he becomes nervous upon seeing him. Although he manages to quit, running out before the man can blow up. Back at home, he lies to Amira that he stood up to his boss, and his boss apologized. She confesses she's proud of him, but knows that's not what happened. Ezra then brings up the wedding, not wanting to dwell on how he quit his job. He's worried about Amira's lack of enthusiasm. She truthfully reveals that her family has been on her back ever since they moved in together, and that she's sure that his family is wary of her too, since she's black. Facing reality, Ezra feels that they only have one way to go about it. In the next scene, Ezra and Amira are seated with both their parents in their house to make an important decision. A religious one at that. Things go south as they decide who's going to officiate the wedding, the rabbi or the imam. Their parents don't get along one bit, as their religions are conflicting with each other. With things about to get out of hand, Ezra and Amira use dinner as an excuse to stop their discussion. However, things don't even seem to slow down during dinner, and become worse as their parents begin to argue if the Holocaust was as bad as slavery. They also argue about the struggle of a black and a Jew. Amira and Ezra can't control the situation, and just want to distract themselves from their discussion. The candle starts to affect Fatima, and as Ezra and Shelley try to shift the candle, Akbar's kufi, which he treasures so much, as it's a gift from the minister, catches fire. With the end of the dinner and everyone gone, Amira tries to find out what they can do about their parents. Ezra, saying her dad is intense, annoys her. She takes it far, saying he's calling him an angry black man. She feels his mother is the problem, especially since she set her father's kufi on fire, and Ezra defends his mom. Their conversation is turning into an argument instead of providing a solution, so Ezra changes the topic to their wedding officiator. Amira wants to use an imam, since it's important to her dad, but Ezra disagrees. They get into an argument, but Amira, not wanting to fight, calls it a night. Before going to bed, she suggests Ezra spend more time with her dad, so he can see how serious they are, and Ezra agrees, although he feels they should just cut ties with them. In the next scene, Akbar and Ezra are on a drive, and he questions him on how he's going to take care of Amira by doing a podcast since he quit his job. Meanwhile, Shelley and Amira are also on a drive. Shelley apologizes for her dad's kufi, but takes it too far again when she says Akbar has a kufi closet. The drives are awkward on both Ezra and Amira's end. Ezra tries to vibe with Akbar's jam, but can't say anything in regards to the song, and Shelley, on Amira's side, keeps singing, making her uncomfortable. Later, Akbar takes Ezra to a barber shop full of black people. He is not comfortable, but has no choice other than to accept it, because it's where Akbar wants to cut his hair. There seems to be a dress code in the shop, as Ant, the barber, and the other black dudes tell him to remove his red hoodie. Akbar advises him against it, claiming he might get sexually assaulted by some black dudes and have a nightmare about it for a while. Meanwhile, Shelley takes Amira to a spa, but is told by the receptionist to wait for a minute. As they're waiting, a white woman who comes in after them goes in, and Shelley takes it the wrong way, thinking that the receptionist is being racist to Amira. So she tries to defend her to a confused receptionist. She soon discovers she's wrong when the other woman comes in, and turns out to be a staff member. Embarrassed for both of them, Amira takes her out for some air. Akbar takes Ezra to a basketball court, asking him to play some basketball, even though it is obvious that Ezra lied about playing in Langston Hughes, and might not know how to play. Akbar starts filming Ezra's play, and is happy to film when he falls. Unfortunately for him, Ezra gets the hang of it and starts playing his best. On their podcast, Mo tells him the truth, that white and black people can never get along. He refers to white people as cheaters, and black people as the women who can't forget what the whites have done, slavery, and what they're still doing, racism. In the next scene, Ezra's parents and Amira's parents both bring in their wedding planners. Demetrius, Amira's cousin, and Becca, a friend of the Cohens. Amira and Ezra don't feel they need them, but play along because of their parents. The two planners have two diverse ideas. Ezra and Amira realize that their parents haven't been on their backs lately as she prepares to go for an interview. Ezra bids her good luck before she goes. At the interview, Amira is doing pretty well. But all her interviewers are white, and they seem to have a prejudice against her, since she's black and didn't even go to Harvard. In the next scene, Ezra and Mo are excited about the bachelor party in Vegas, because Ezra believes he needs to distress himself. He's unable to relax as Akbar takes the seat beside him and even brings Omar along. He tells Ezra not to feel he is the father-in-law when they get to Vegas, and see him as one of the guys instead. However, as Akbar reaches his seat, Omar asks what the plan is, and Akbar says to make sure that Ezra doesn't have fun. Even though it's low, Omar loves the idea, since they can find out who he is from his crew. The party starts, and all of Ezra's guys are there. At her bachelorette party, Amira is happy to see her friends, and they all vibe with her mom. But everything becomes awkward when Shelley comes in, and especially when she starts talking. Meanwhile, Ezra and his gang go to a strip club, and Ezra is not comfortable and can't be himself, because Akbar is at his back. Soon, seeing his friends doing coke, Akbar gets into his investigating mode, especially since Ezra is the only one not taking the hard. Ezra tries to play it cool, putting on a sorry face and claiming he is not like them, but this is about to blow up in his face. One of his friends calls out to him that they need him to contact his coke guy for a refill, as they are almost out. No way. He immediately starts denying it, claiming his friend is high, but his friends keep insisting. As if to make matters worse, the coke guy walks in, making him bow his head in shame. During her bachelorette party, they try to play a game of guessing words, but Shelley spoils it by bringing in the N-word, making all the black people think she's referring to the racial insult. As she tries to sit down, her hand, which was stuck under one of Amira's friend's wigs, removes the wig. They all scream. They are angry with her, and Shelley feels bad. It was a genuine mistake, and Lisa comforts her. With the bachelor and bachelorette parties out of the way, Ezra and Amira are back home. He tries to find out how her party went, and also what his mother did, but Amira doesn't seem to be in the mood. She finally reveals that she didn't get the job. He tries to think of ways to help her, and wants to connect her with one of his family friends, but Amira doesn't want the luxury, and wants to work everywhere she gets by herself, even though she's been discriminated against. They get into an argument, but can't deal with that because they need to get to their rehearsal dinner. The rehearsal party starts, and all their friends and family are present. Amira introduces Ezra to her uncle EJ, Akbar's brother, and leaves them to get along, though a nervous Ezra doesn't want her to go. Akbar further introduces Ezra as someone who does a podcast on black culture, and Ezra feels embarrassed and annoyed when they joke around with him. They make a toast to the couple, even though they all say stupid things, and even relate it to being black and white. Akbar finally gives a speech talking about how honored he is to know who Ezra is, and who is getting married to his daughter. Although what he says seems generally nice, it's offensive to Ezra, who is saddened by it. After the toast, Ezra walks up to Akbar, who's standing alone. He thanks him for not blowing his cover about the but Akbar claims he did it for his daughter. Akbar goes on to say he doesn't know why Amira is walking the marriage path with him, and he's sure that Ezra isn't the one for his daughter. Fed up, Ezra asks Akbar why he isn't the one for his daughter. When Akbar claims it's because of his friends and he pours out his heart, telling him that he has always been against him from the start. He has never actually sat down to know him, even when all he did was love his daughter. He summarized who he was before meeting him, and tried his best to ensure that he won't fit into the black culture. Ezra calls him an asshole. That's all he found out from spending time with him, and also the fact that blacks and whites won't ever get along. As Amira is passing by, Shelley sees her and calls her over, because she wants to say something. She starts talking about black women's hair, and the conversation just gets awkward. Annoyed, Amira also bursts out, telling Shelley off for treating her like a new black toy and showing her off to her friends. She reveals that she's always offensive and inappropriate when they meet. She's annoyed that Shelley can't see her for her, and always sees her as a black token woman. Shelley tears up at her words and tries to deny while she's talking, but Amira doesn't allow her to talk till she's done. Fatima interrupts them, breaking up their conversation, and Amira goes to find Ezra. Ezra and Amira step outside to talk, and Ezra gives the floor to Amira first. Amira admits that their family issue is stressful, and that she's sorry. Ezra also agrees, because he doesn't see either of their families changing. He assures her that the period he spent with her was the best time of his life. She agrees, hating that they have to leave each other. 3 months later, Mo and Ezra have gotten their studio, and their podcast is a success. On their show, Ezra finally agrees that Mo was right about black and white people not being able to move forward together. He feels bothered that he thought the opposite before. He speaks about black and white people living in two different worlds, and that love is not the only factor that can make them stay together. Akbar and EJ are watching the podcast in the car, and EJ finally tells him that he was too hard on Ezra. Akbar denies that, saying he behaved like any other father would have, but EJ is convinced he played him, because he is a white boy and he could get away with it. EJ truthfully tells him that the times have changed, but Akbar defends himself with the issue, and EJ is disappointed, as even Akbar did things while he was young. He maintains that he did badly to both Ezra and Amira. Akbar reflects on it a little by taking his phone and calling Shelley. In the next scene, Shelley drags Ezra to buy some tennis shoes for her, and he wonders why. He notices Amira from afar and tries to run away, but has to turn back when she calls his name. It's becoming a little awkward, and Ezra is annoyed when he sees Akbar too. Akbar gives Shelley a thumbs up for good timing, and confesses that it was a planned coincidence between them. He and Shelley admit that they messed up their relationship, and that they want to apologize. Akbar apologizes to Ezra for riding his back all the time, because he wasn't what he was expecting, and confesses he is a good man who loves Amira. Shelley also apologizes sincerely for any offensive things she said, because she was just overwhelmed and excited to have a new culture in the family, and went overboard. She also apologizes on behalf of the actual racist people. She apologizes again, saying she loves her, and that she doesn't see her as a toy, but as a strong, independent woman. Amira is very pleased with her heartfelt apology. Shelley also apologizes to Ezra for always being in the way. Both parents tell them about an idea they have, which they think they would like very much. Alone, Ezra and Amira talk about how they missed each other before going through the door. They are surprised to see all their friends and families there as they enter a wedding hall. Their wedding eventually happens successfully, even though they don't wear a suit and gown. They have fun dancing at the after party. Akbar and Shelley are really excited that their children ended up happy with the person they love. Regardless of the tough journey so far, love wins this time.